Welcome in to another episode of Building the Pride. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, Drew. How about yourself?
I am overcoming a bit of an illness. Feel a lot better than I did last week when I did the show. So that's good.
Excellent. Sorry I couldn't be here. I was
I was also sorry that
not
you
in a
couldn't
place
be
with
here.
service. I thought I was going to,
Yeah.
and I'm like, it didn't quite make it. Tried,
So,
but yeah.
Donkey Kong's in the chat. Wee-o.
Woo!
But
Joey
feeling
says
better
we're
now.
going to embarrass the Packers on Thursday.
That would be awesome. I just want to win a game on Thanksgiving. I just want to win. I just want to win on Thanksgiving.
The blowout would be nice.
The worst loss for me ever on Thanksgiving was when the goddamn Titans beat us, like, handily. I don't remember when it was. But I was like, oh, the Titans, how did they get a Thanksgiving Day game? Maybe we can get these guys. Nope. Trashed us in our house. It was terrible.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not like we can be like, oh, it's a bad team. We should crush them. Because as we've seen this past week, spoiler alert, we don't crush bad teams. We haven't been anyway. Like we did early. Like we had a bunch of games where we would win by like 2 scores. But the last several games, I don't know what the change has been, but we have been squeaking by teams. The Chargers was a nail biter. This game was a nail biter. Frankly, we didn't deserve to win this game, but also the way that the Chicago played at the very end, they didn't necessarily deserve it either.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's. I'd love to see a crushing of Green Bay's soul.
Yeah, every one of these games matters for the end of the season, right? Like you're winning week 7 or whatever it is. That matters for like playoff seeding. You know, your win in week 11 or week 3 matters for tiebreakers and stuff. You just don't know how much at that point, right? So you might as well go win as many of them as you can, right? So if the Lions come out of Thanksgiving 9-2 and then have 10 days until they go and play the Bears again? No, it's.
Does that sound right?
Is it the Broncos?
Detroit Lions schedule. Chargers, Bears, Packers, Saints. Play the Saints.
So if you're 9-2 going to New Orleans, there's a chance that like if you win that game, you're really close to claiming the entire division. So right now, I saw on Twitter somewhere that the Lions' magic number right now is 5. So some combination of 5 wins and losses from the Vikings, you get that number to 5, the Lions clinch the division.
Yeah.
So you need to get 1 win here on Thursday against a Packers team that has not looked wonderful.
We should be able to beat handily.
Aaron Jones is apparently out, and they had like 15 players on their injury report on Tuesday. So who knows? Maybe a couple more guys can't go.
Donkey Kong, give us the updates. He lives in Green Bay, which I apologize for.
Oh, Kathy in chat
in advance.
Go Mike.
Hey,
all right.
That's from her son Ari. But
still hurts the same.
Yeah. Drew needs some love too. Drew needs some love. But yeah, I think that coming away with a victory will be important. And honestly, the big games, if that number is 5, we've got 2 games against the Vikings. And that's a 2, right? They lose, we win is a 2 game deal. So if we can beat them both games, we should be fine. If we can split with them, we should probably also still be fine, but it's going to hurt a lot more if we lose both.
I don't understand how the Vikings are winning football games. They have Josh Dobbs at quarterback, and they're not playing Justin Jefferson. Like, I don't understand how they're winning football games. It boggles the mind, you know. And it's like, can you guys please just buckle under so we can have the division?
Yeah.
I just like to be in week 12 and know that I've got my playoff spot wrapped up.
Yeah, it's one of those where they're like, you know what, we haven't given up, and I love their feistiness, that never give up, never say die attitude. That's great. I wish they were in a different division. I wish they could get over that attitude and just resign themselves to a draft position. Yeah, Vikings are playing really well right now, especially considering their top 2 players are out.
Yeah, it's just insane. I mean, I know they're not playing like the Chiefs and the Eagles and those kinds of players and those kind of teams, but like, I mean, drop something. I mean, here you are sitting 6-4. Lions are 8-2, playing out of their minds, best they played since the '60s. And here the Vikings are just 2 games back, just chilling. Like, hey guys, remember us? We're right here. It's gonna follow you around. We're just right behind you. Like, go away.
Little brother syndrome, right?
Go away, dude. I don't like it. Let us do our own. We're doing our thing right now.
Like, that can't keep up though, right?
Well, shit. I mean, like, you would have thought last year they had like the worst like point differential in the league and were winning games. Like, if you looked at their point differential over the season, you'd have been like, "Oh,
they were negative, weren't they?
This team is like a 4-win team with this differential." And they were like a 13-win team that made the playoffs. Like, it just didn't make any sense. And like, here they are again, like, oh, we lost all our best players. We'll just keep winning football games.
They did just lose to Denver, so that helped.
Yeah, but Denver scored 17 points in the 4th quarter to win that game. I mean, it was like very reminiscent of what the Lions did to the Bears. So
their week 12 is the Bears. Their week 13 is a bye. Then they've got the Raiders in Las Vegas. They've got the Bengals, who, what the hell happened to the Bengals?
Jesus Christ. Well, you lose Joe Burrow.
I mean, well, now, but even going into that game, they are not the team that they were last year or 2 years ago when they hit the Super Bowl. And I don't think they got much worse. Like, I don't think their team really downsized like major players or anything.
No.
I just don't understand what's going on with that team. But they're in the AFC, so I don't really care. But it's still mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is.
So they've got in Cincinnati. Then they've got us in Detroit. No, at home. And then Green Bay at home. And then us in Detroit.
Considering who they're beating, do you see a lot of losses on that schedule, the remainder? I don't.
Not a ton. I think they've got I mean, I think if Chicago plays against them the way that they played against us, I think they could potentially lose to Chicago this Sunday. The Raiders, I think that's kind of a coin flip, but right now they're playing better than the Raiders. I'm just not sure that their team is better than the Raiders. So it really comes down to they keep this momentum of overachieving. Cincinnati, with Burrow out, I'm not sure that they're going to win more than 2 games the rest of the season.
How do you like the idea of like Cincinnati with like a top 12 pick heading into the next season? With like a healthy.
I mean, what do you do if you're
Burrow?
Cincinnati, right? Say you've got a top 12 pick and you're Cincinnati. What do you do? I mean, you go after offensive line, right? That's their biggest need.
So this draft, the way that I see it shaping up, is there's 3 positions that are real strong, and that's offensive tackle, wide receiver, and corner. And I think it's going to come down for Cincinnati, like what happens with T. Higgins. Are you going to back up the Brinks truck for T. Higgins and keep your number 2 long term? Because you've already signed Joe. You might have to sign T. Higgins, and Chase is right around the corner. So what do you do? So like they have spent all their free agency money and their draft picks on their defense. Yeah. So all of their second contract money is going to be going to their skill players. So this is a draft class that as you said, I think they absolutely could go for an offensive tackle, especially if they're in the top 15. They could also go for a wide receiver, and they have consistently drafted cornerbacks and secondary players their last 2 seasons. So like, the draft lines up for whatever they want to do. I think anything they decide to do is probably bad for the rest of the NFL. So
if it's not one of those 3 players, their positions.
I mean, yeah,
you could always kicker. That's great for the NFL, but
you could always just be like, oh, hey, they decided to take I don't know, something else, running back or something. And it's like, well, why did you do that? And it's like, well, we just wanted to take this guy.
Or a linebacker. They could take a linebacker.
They could take a linebacker.
My thought was they go offensive tackle if one of the top tackles is available. And if not, I think they go with the best wide receiver available and let T. Higgins walk.
So going into this season, I can't believe we're talking about the Bengals, but like going into this season, you would have assumed that they would have had to re-sign or like franchise T. Higgins because they were probably picking in the late 20s, right? Like they're going to be right there battling it out with the elite in the AFC, and no one thought they'd get off to this slow start in their first 4 games and that Burrow would wreck a ligament in his finger and not be able to play anymore this season. And there's half the season, a little less than half the season left. So if you're picking top half of the first round, you can kind of just sit there at 12 or 13 or wherever you are and be like, all right,
see what
players
falls.
Here's where this is, here's where that is. Like here's a crazy scenario just for the fun of it. What if they were just like, hey, New England, let's just assume New England's at 3. Hey, New England, can we move up 9 spots? We'd love to have Marvin Harrison Jr. on this team.
Jesus. We will trade you T. Higgins and our number 12.
We'll sign and we'll do a little sign and trade with old Higgins, and you can get him on slightly better deal for you. We'll take Marvin Harrison Jr. Hey, Detroit, what's up, man? It is rare territory. It's nice to be here. So we did a little mock draft with the squad last week. We did just like what Detroit would do over the first 3 rounds once or twice. So I'm starting to get into that mind space. So and it's fun to think about, like, if T. Higgins makes it to free agency, like to actually hits the open market. I mean, that's a bidding war. I mean, like,
he's going to make bank.
He may very well be the top guy on the market, regardless of position. So,
I think he's pretty clearly the best number 2 wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I think that you could make that claim
because he's the number 1 on probably half the teams in the league.
He's certainly a player that a lot of teams, I think, would be a welcome addition to their offense. So
anything else on news and notes around the NFL? Anything else going on?
They suspended Broncos safety Kareem Jackson another 4 games for what would be called targeting in college football. Laid into Josh Dobbs, and people on Twitter were like, oh, it's not really that bad. What is he supposed to do? And I'm like, the dude lowered the crown of his helmet and put it on the dude's chin. I mean, he put it on his chin.
Yeah.
And like, I don't care. Like, if you get the reputation, Matt Canada got fired. Good one, Joey. Keep that stuff coming, guys.
Yep.
If you have a reputation for being a big hitter.
I'll say Mike Thomas, the Saints wide receiver, is IR.
Yeah. If you've got a rep and you lay the wood on somebody, you're probably going to get suspended.
Yeah.
So I don't know why people are just like, I'll just ignore it and just go and lay this dude out or whatever. Tom Brady said that he saw a lot of mediocrity this year in the NFL. Here's my response. Shut up. Like, you're not playing. Go be a broadcaster for Fox or invest
Yeah, I
in
thought that
FTX or whatever it is you're doing.
there was some, $150 million, I don't know, something absurd. It was like 50 million bucks a year or something to be a broadcaster after he's done, but I haven't seen him on any broadcasts. Is he actually doing this?
If Fox offered me 350 million over 10 years to talk about football, I don't know. I mean, like, I know he's rich or whatever, but how do you turn down 35 million a year? It just doesn't. I mean, like, I know that I don't have that kind of money, so maybe that's the difference. But like, my God. So that what?
Yeah.
So that you can have Greg Olson on one of your broadcasts? Like, I like Greg Olson fine, but like, I don't. Maybe they're just going to start him next year, and he wanted a break.
So it didn't end up happening, but did you see Jalen Carter almost intercept Patrick Mahomes' spike to stop the clock?
We should have a rule on this podcast that we can't talk about anything cool that Jalen Carter does. Because I am like the girl he didn't ask to prom. I'm so broken up about it. So I desperately wanted that guy playing next to Hutch and McNeil. But
all right,
yeah. I mean, this is
and
crazy.
We'll clock it with 2 seconds left, and the field goal unit
almost does it.
I mean, how close
and
can
we'll
you
clock
get?
it with 2 seconds.
Can you imagine?
Look at this.
If he had caught that?
So
if he had caught that.
Apparently some high school kid did that and actually caught the ball, and he's like, psh, oh yeah, right here. I saw it on the internet. I seen it on YouTube. Some high school kid tried and he actually caught the ball. I thought, that's a good idea. I knew they were going to spike it, so I tried to go for it.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's brilliant. I can't. There's no way the center can stop that, right?
You'd have to just snap and dive at the ground. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
But I would have loved to have seen that be a success. Not because, mainly because it was badass. It was like a brilliant play, and he damn near pulled it off.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those like, whoa, like eyebrows up. I gotta watch that one or two more times type of plays. So
yeah,
that would have been sick.
By the way, I don't know if you noticed this.
Yep. Hey, how'd you get that, Mike?
You like it?
I do like it. That's my boy.
Yeah, I just acquired it.
Okay.
No, I got it.
Yeah, I was putting you on the spot there. My bad.
Yeah. No, I wanted a Stafford jersey. That way I could wear it in front of for 2 different games, Lions games and Rams games, but they did not have any. So I went with Hutch instead because he was my number 2.
Yeah, I don't know that I can. Of course, like I'm a Michigan fan, and so Hutch clearly went to Michigan, and he was just great there for 2 seasons. Like, and I remember him coming up.
Heisman, but it never is going to go to a defensive player.
They did show this fun stat. I'm just gonna brag a little bit about Michigan real quick. Of the 3 players who made the final ballot, including Charles Woodson, who was the last defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy, Jabril Peppers, who was primarily a safety or a jack linebacker, and Aiden Hutchinson, a rush end, were the only 2 defensive players to make it. I believe they all went to Michigan.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was pulling for Hutch. I mean, and I didn't in that season. He wrecked Ohio State. He wrecked Iowa in the Big Ten title game. They had a terrible college football playoff game against TCU. And
that was unfortunate.
So
you were at my place that night, weren't you?
I was at your place that night. And then we watched fucking Ohio State and Georgia. And I thought, okay, here comes Ohio State right down the field. They're going to kick some 30-yard field goal. And the dude just pulled it so far left, you couldn't even keep it in the shot. Yeah. And I was just like, finally, if Michigan's not going to win, Ohio State can't. I just hate them. I just cannot stand them. So
this weekend's going to be a great game. It's going to be absurd.
What's
your prediction? What's your prediction?
Well, I don't want to say one because that Michigan played so badly against Maryland that I'm really worried that like they're not going to be ready to go. You know, it is at home. I think that's a big deal in a rivalry.
It helps that one team has a head coach that can be on the field.
I think that matters a lot more than I think people are recognizing.
Yeah, I say that both in jest because I fucking hate Harbaugh. So part of it's in jest, but it's also like legit. Like it actually matters that one team has their head coach and the guy that, you know, runs the team, as opposed to having the OCs and stuff like that do it. So,
I really don't want to talk about the quote unquote scandal because the more information that comes out about this is just Ohio State hiring private investigative firms to go onto Michigan's campus and stir shit up after 2 years of losing.
It's going to blow away when he leaves the team this summer anyway, or after the season.
Well, I mean, they've been saying that for like 5 years, right?
Yeah, but I mean, after the two things that he's got going on right now with the recruiting stuff.
Michigan doesn't want him to go anywhere.
Yeah, but he wants to get out of I think he wants to get out of there.
Why?
He can get more money in the NFL, and he can get.
He makes like $9 million a year. Yeah. Like what NFL head coach makes more than that? Like, and to be honest, like I think that, I mean, during the quote unquote height of the scandal or what, and scandal, by the way, everyone shut the fuck up about what a big deal it was that like someone went to someone else's games and recorded some shit on their phone. They have all 22 footage. You can sit there all week and study exactly what these people are doing and what plays they're running and what hand signals they're using from everybody that's using hand signals. They have camera angles of every single thing. And there's no rule against sign stealing. There's a rule against like video surveillance of an opponent. That's it.
Yeah. And it's
so some staffer took a video on his phone and ooh, what a great advantage for Michigan. Stop.
Yeah.
So Wake Forest had this exact problem 2 years ago, and one of their staff members just emailed Louisville and two other teams plays that they were just working on. It was called Wakey Leaks.
Nice.
And the NCAA didn't even fucking investigate it because it's Wake Forest, so they're like the 143rd draw of 144 Division I teams. But when it's Michigan, let's get that shit in the paper. Let's have ESPN talk about it, even though ESPN doesn't have a contract with the Big Ten anymore. So they're clearly pushing SEC schools, and everyone else that's not on their agenda to show on their programming is now they're the big bad wolf. So
much like when you talk about defensive penalties, showboating penalties, whatever it is, you're like,
I hate that stuff.
You could not get a penalty by not doing it, right?
Right.
They know the rules. They should just follow them. Like,
yes, sure.
As dumb as those rules may be, just maybe follow them and not. And if you're not following the rules on purpose, that is cheating. Stop cheating. Sure. However minor of just why? Like you said, you've got all these other things. Why are you doing the stupid shit that gets you in trouble? Why? Just don't do it.
Here's the thing, though, Mike, is that like I think the thing that like teams like the Miami Hurricanes, Penn State, USC, Texas don't have is Oklahoma and Clemson and UCLA hiring private investigative firms to go dig this shit up and then leak it to the NCAA. That's the difference. Is not that like
and maybe
college
it's more
teams don't cheat.
Is.
I mean, like it's naive to think that every other team in the Division I football is following all the rules completely correctly, and only the teams that get caught are the ones doing something wrong.
Oh, so I agree that this isn't the only ones doing this.
So should they have done this
don't
stuff?
Do it.
No. Like,
right.
But here's the thing. Like, if you're talking about the worst thing that Michigan has done is that one of their staffers went to other players' games and took video on his phone and that earlier in the season, Harbaugh bought some recruits that came on campus without his knowledge food at a restaurant. Oh my God. What violations are these? The sanctity of the game hath been destroyed. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
the minimum level of like competitive advantage that people are making this out to have given Michigan, and then saying that like that is breaking the sanctity of the game.
No,
it's
the
disgusting.
thing that's breaking the sanctity of the game is the NIL contracts in the portal.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
we won't go down that. We won't go down that whole road because
it's NCAA free agency.
It's absurd.
I mean, the NCAA.
I didn't mean to get sidetracked on that, but it is going to be a damn good game.
I think Michigan will win, but
as much as I don't like Harbaugh, I dislike Ohio State more, and Harbaugh isn't even be on the sidelines. So
right, so like
say go U of M this time.
Ohio State had better be like, boy, there's literally no excuse if they don't win.
Yeah.
If they lose this game, Ryan Day has to be fired. He has to be fired. You can't do what you did in the offseason, stir up all this shit, and then go into Ann Arbor and lose for the third year in a row. That's it. Your head's going to be on a platter in the center of Columbus. So I can't wait. Like that's the thing that I want the most.
So quirky transition time. You know whose head has also been on a platter? Jared Goff after this last game.
He did not play well.
Jesus Christ, he was fucking terrible.
Yeah.
So pop the thing up there. Detroit 31, Chicago 26. But I can't say with much feeling that we deserved that game. But Chicago also didn't necessarily. Yeah. And so I guess Jared Goff, 3 interceptions. One was tipped. One had dropped. Laporta kind of crossing, and he should have been interference or something, illegal contact. Didn't get called. It is what it is. And then one was just a horrendous throw and decision. One could have been he had 2 almost interceptions. One was dropped and one was, a second one was dropped. That could have been a 98-yard pick six, which would have been a 14-point difference. Played horrible. His last 4 minutes, he redeemed himself a bit, played much better. But this was his worst game, I think, since 2021, when he his first year with us. I think this is where he was a 47.6 grade. That's bad. So
he was right up there at the top of the NFL and how well he had been.
Yeah,
he was
playing. Number 1 going into the game.
Well, I hate to agree with David Pike. I hate to agree with David Pike, but David has had every reason this year to just crow and be right and to tout the banner and to skip up and down the street in his little dress or whatever he wears on Sundays or whatever. But like, he's right this year. This year, Jared Goff played like a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and basically and it's a weird top 3 too. It's like Tua, Lamar, and Jared Goff. Like, what a weird group. But like,
yeah.
In Detroit's right. Like, teams figured him out. Like you and I were talking before the show, and I said it just felt like wherever Jared liked to throw the ball, the Bears had figured out a way to drop somebody right into that spot. Whether it was the dropped out route near in the red zone, whether it was the pass right to was Tremaine Edmonds, I think. And it was just like, well, there was no one else around. You just threw it right to that guy, or whatever. It just felt like the Bears were like, hey, on this play, you have to be right here in this throwing lane because that's where Jared likes to throw it. And then it's the classic, like, if you don't get to the quarterback, put your hands up in the air. And it's some 6'4", 313-pound dude with like a saucer plate. I cook eggs on something the size of his hand, waving that shit around. Just gets enough of it to deflect it. And it just happened to go directly to another Chicago Bear defender. And that's just how the ball bounces sometimes, so.
And that's where I think analytics is more important than raw stats, right? Like, if you just look at the raw stats, he had 3 interceptions. But when you look at the analytics, like one of them was his fault. The other one was a tipped ball in a crossing route where the guy got ran into. The downside to this is the rest of his game was also horrendous. So focusing on just the interceptions is both fair and not fair, just because there are 2 other interceptions that should have been.
Right.
So this is the current list per PFF for the season. Quarterbacks. Dak Prescott is actually the highest graded over the season right now. Josh Allen at number 2. Lamar, Mahomes, no surprise. Goff dropped from number 1 to number 5. And then Tua, Cousins, Lawrence, Stroud, and then Stafford dropped from 8 to 10 this past week. So this is kind of the current.
Yeah. So like Detroit brings up
QBs.
a good point here. I agree he's played phenomenal, but for how long, right? So here's the answer that I'll just continue to give. And I think it's if Ben Johnson leaves. And there's two reasons right now why I think that Ben Johnson would leave. The Bears are probably going to have the number 1 pick. And it looks like Brandon Staley's going to get fired in Los Angeles. And if you're like, hey, Ben, you're 30X years old. I don't know how old he is, 36 to 37 years old. Do you want to go and coach in Chicago and have your number 1 quarterback, whether that's Drake May or Caleb Williams, on the team for like 4 or 5 years? Or do you want to go and play with a dude that if like you bring your style to Justin Herbert might just be the best quarterback in the NFL? Like, last year, he had nothing close to those opportunities. Nothing close to those opportunities. Not the quality of quarterback that he would be coaching, not the type of draft assets that either team would be able to offer in addition to their quarterbacks, age 36.
Yeah,
so it looks like he came back to Detroit. He got himself a pay bump. Good job, Ben. But like when Ben Johnson leaves, and I think it's 100% that he leaves, I'd be shocked if he came back.
100%.
100%.
I think it's like 75%.
There's no chance there's 25%.
If we win the Super Bowl, I agree. It's 100% because he has
Like
nothing to.
Like I said,
Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's his name? Donkey Kong in here now. He and you were riding in the same car on the way to the game, right? But like, I would love it. I would absolutely adore it if the Detroit Lions won the Super Bowl this year, because then it's done. Then this era is done, and Ben can leave, and you can do whatever you want with the team. Continue to build out from here, try and find replacements, go in a different direction. But if they win the Super Bowl this year, it's not like we're creating a dynasty. That's not the NFL anymore. Like, you are done with this chapter of this Super Bowl winning roster build. You have to find the next chapter of whatever that thing is.
I think we're young enough where we don't have a lot to look. I don't think we have a lot to change with our roster.
Well,
we don't have to like rebuild it, right?
Well. I was looking at that. I was starting to look at that a little bit. Because I think that Jared Goff is probably the quarterback of this team next year, unless Jesus Christ reaches down and brings him up to heaven. Just like, sorry, Ben, I'm a Vikings fan. Sorry, Jared, I'm a Vikings fan. Here we go. Something like that. But like, there's no way this dude could play this well with this group of coaches and their philosophy and have them be like, well, we're going to trade you / cut you. I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening. So I think
the question is, does he get extended before then?
So like,
if he does, that's where you go, well, he's our quarterback for the next 5 years, because you're not going to do like a 1-year extension.
Well, you're not going to give him Jalen Hurts money. So like, I think because that was the years. the Joe Burrow, the Justin Herbert, the Jalen Hurts, the Lamar Jackson, those are max number of years, max number per year. He won't get that on an extension. But he will probably get something like slightly less than the per year that those guys are getting, but he'll get fewer years. He's 29 years old, isn't he? 30 years old?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to find, someone tweeted the likely Jared Goff extension numbers, and I cannot find it for the life of me.
If Ben Johnson leaves, you cannot extend Jared Goff. You have to reset. You have to reset your timeline with a new offensive philosophy coming in, if that is what happens. Like, let's say, who's the guy they just got fired in Buffalo? Ken Dorsey. There's nothing wrong with what Ken Dorsey did.
I don't know.
Ken Dorsey's not a bad OC. Like, let's say the Lions hire Ken Dorsey next year. You gotta bring in someone new. Not the head coaches, not everybody else, not the offensive line or whatever, but you got to bring in a new quarterback that speaks that language. You can't just be like, here, Jared, go. No. That is too much. You could do something like 3 years, 145.
Yeah, per spot track. This is what they estimated his renewal would be.
You cannot do that deal.
5 years, 210, 168 guaranteed. And I threw up in my mouth when I saw this.
Do you think that Brad Holmes is going to extend Jared Goff beyond what his own contract is?
Why wouldn't he?
Why would he?
Why wouldn't he?
Because
if he's if he's gonna be fired or whatever, I don't think he will because he's done a great job. But like, when his contract is up, if he's not renewed for whatever reason, he doesn't care what he saddles the next guy with.
But like, he's also not going to be like, well, okay, we went from 3 wins to 9 wins to we're 8-2 right now, heading into Thanksgiving. He looks like untouchable, or he himself is going to be extension worthy, right? Are you, if you're Brad Holmes, going to tie yourself to Jared Goff for the effectively?
If I was Brad Holmes, I wouldn't.
Right.
But I think Brad Holmes would. He was instrumental in them drafting him in St. Louis. He was the guy that said, we need him as part of this deal. I mean, granted, I think the Rams also said we can't afford to keep both, so how about you take this guy as well? But like, so I think that's part of it. But Brad Holmes wasn't like, I guess so. Like, I think this is his boy.
If Brad Holmes extends Jared Goff, I think it's a misunderstanding of where the NFL is today.
If it's that kind of numbers.
Well, I mean,
I don't mind a 2-year extension, one of which is guaranteed or something like that.
I do.
I mean, if he's playing like this, that's not saddling yourself too long with him.
Well, if he's playing like this, to me, is saddled directly with Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
So if Ben Johnson leaves, I don't know what the Jared Goff that I have looks like. And if I then sign him to big, like anything approaching what you and I were talking about, the high or low of like what that extension might look like.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't play in the non-Ben Johnson offense the way that he did in the Ben Johnson offense, it is a cataclysmic failure. And like, this is what
happened in LA.
Right. So like, but this is the part of Brad Holmes that we have not yet seen. Like, we've seen him trade for people. We've seen him draft people. We have not seen him extend people yet.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. So that was a very long intro into the week 11. But I guess what were your takeaways from the game? The good takeaways and the bad takeaways.
So I'm going to do the bad takeaways first, because I think I can sum them up a lot more quickly. This game was a fucking misery for 56 minutes. It was an absolute disgusting Baltimore Raven game style misery for 56 minutes. There was nothing that the Detroit Lions did better than the Chicago Bears for the first 56 minutes of this game. They just were bad. The Bears just outplayed them and got out and out coached them and out hustled them and were out executed them. End of bad things. Here's the good things. Jameson Williams is just like a bolt of lightning. Jameson Williams is so fast that he ran between Eddie Jackson and Jalen Johnson, and they looked at each other and they were like, "You're supposed to catch him, right? Like that's you. No, it's me. It's you. It's me. No, it's you. It's me." And then he turned around and caught a touchdown pass in the end zone, and I was like, "Hooray! This is who I thought this dude was. That's exactly what I thought he was." He did extend.
Why would he have
Walker
to turn around to catch the?
Because Jared Goff can't throw the ball far enough down the field. We've talked about this ad nauseum. See, that's
so
my
I
problem.
disagree with that. He can throw the ball a long ways. He can throw the ball a long ways. What he can't do with consistency is place the ball in a good location a long ways down.
That's part of throwing the ball deep. So, like, if conditions are perfect, Jared Goff could throw a decent ball 50 yards.
Yeah.
That's not good enough with someone like James. It's not good enough with Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
You need Anthony Richardson for that.
The biggest thing that I dislike about Goff's downfield throwing is, and it's not just the downfield, but it mostly affects it, and that is he doesn't see the play develop quickly enough in his head. He will look at his first progression and kind of watch it for a second or whatever and go, yeah, it's not going to be you. And then he will usually check it down. Sometimes it goes to a second one. But the good downfield throwers are the ones that within the first second-ish of after the snap, they kind of see the whole field and they know exactly where their guys are going to be and what the defense appears to be. Like they kind of already see the next 2 or 3 seconds playing out. And Jared doesn't do that. So what ends up happening is if you have a quarterback that does that better, they're going to see that he's going to be open long before then, and they'll throw it so it's on stride. He takes too long to see that, and then when he throws it, he has to turn around and catch it in his belly because by the time that he got it there, it was kind of too late. And that's my biggest, rainbow throws, like Joey says. But that's my biggest problem with Goff. I don't think he reads plays quick enough to be a good downfield, on stride kind of passer.
Yeah, I'm on board. I don't think much of him. To Hatter's take here, like I don't like the ball that he throws. I don't like where he places the ball. I don't think he can throw the ball deep. I don't think he can throw the ball deep with accuracy. And like
consistently
at all. But like,
well, I mean, so that's tough, right? Because like he's dropped a few dimes, 30 yards to 40 yards downfield. It happens, right? It's not like he can't ever do it. The problem is, I don't think he can do it with enough consistency to be considered an elite downfield thrower. He is an average at best downfield thrower.
So
right?
Jared Goff is slightly more athletic Tom Brady, but less good at throwing the football. So like he's kind of like a weird amalgamation of like, oh, okay, if we could make all the bad things slightly worse and then average that shit out, this is the style in which he plays. But like that's
and the
just
best
not
part is it. Go ahead.
It's just not the modern NFL.
Yeah, and the best part is our offense doesn't require that. Right?
Well,
our offense is going to be the short to medium range things that you can do on your first read or your second read. He doesn't have a strong arm, so he can't zip the ball in, right? So you need those first couple reads to be a thing. He's a great, and with the play action, that usually buys him a little bit of time as the defense goes, all right, what just happened here? That half a second or whatever. But like, I think our offense is built for his strengths and to minimize his weaknesses, which is exactly what you want out of your offensive scheme, is to work toward their strengths. So in that regard, that's why he's playing so well. Is he in a vacuum? Is he a top 3, top 5 NFL quarterback?
No,
Nowhere near, right? Like
sure.
not even close. In this offense, he's playing like that because it plays to his strengths.
Yeah, you're not
That
putting
said,
a round
I would
peg in a
love to
square
see.
hole.
Yeah.
Right.
That said, like, if he can do it in this kind of offense, can you imagine Mahomes,
Oh God.
Herbert,
Well, see,
Allen?
the thing about Mahomes is that I think that he's immune to whatever style you want to play. Like 2 years ago, when they had Tyreek Hill on this team, he was throwing bombs to Tyreek Hill. They inexplicably trade Tyreek Hill, right? Okay, they bring in a bunch of dudes, right? He still has Travis Kelce, but like Kadarius Toney, MVS, Sky Moore, Rashee Rice, Justin Watson, the kid that they gave a million chances to, the kid from Clemson that got hurt all the time, Justin Ross or whatever his name is. That's like 7 or 8 wide receivers.
Yeah.
There's not a number 1 in that entire group. And they won the Super Bowl last year with that group because he's immune to the thing that Jared Goff is reliant upon, which is the scheme. Now, Congrats to the Detroit Lions. They identified that and put him in a situation where he can be successful. That's coaching.
Yes.
Good job. It's working.
Keep it up.
You still, I mean, like if you don't have that scheme though, it's just like, oh, a ladder with no rungs. How good is that as a tool? Like it just doesn't matter. So the other good things that I thought about this particular game is that they didn't give up. They had every reason to give up. They were just getting it fucking handed it to them for the overwhelming majority of the game. They didn't give up. They pulled out a victory from the jaws of defeat. There's something to be said about that. That's pride, as far as I'm concerned. And then, of course,
and it's the opposite of same old Lions.
Correct. It's exactly.
We usually pry a defeat out of the jaws of victory.
That's happened once or twice, yeah. So once they took the lead, and Hutch finally beat Darnell Wright for that strip sack, and then he pushes Darnell Wright, and then Darnell Wright kicks the ball out of the back of the end zone. That was just the icing on the cake for me, and I was like, fine, good, finally. Hutch got his, right? So congrats, that's good. Because all they ever ask him to do is to rush the passer. But like no one else got pressure on Justin Fields. I think McNeil had a sack at one point, but I don't know if I don't remember anybody else getting in on Fields. I remember Fields making a lot of our defenders look hilarious by putting them on ice skates in the open field. And then like he had Jack Campbell looking like someone's little brother that it was like, okay, sorry, no, we're actually playing now. Like, go away, child.
Yeah. Let the big kids play.
Yeah, exactly. So, what else? What else did I think was good? St. Brown might also be just immune to having a bad game. The dude is just so crisp, so precise, so professional. I just think that it's all that preparation just wins out. Loved it. Loved him. Can't wait for him to be a Lion for the next 5 years. So yeah, I don't want to just sit here and bash it, but there's so much negative to talk about that I just don't want to do it.
Yeah. I was gonna say the same thing. I will. You kind of summed it up with like 56 minutes of garbage is the negative. Let's move to the positive. I'll be a little bit more specific. I thought our tackling was horrendous.
It was terrible.
It was terrible. I thought Jared Goff played his worst game in over 2 years. Yep. He'd been playing really well, and he came off a stellar game against the Chargers, and then laid an egg that almost cost us the game. Those were the two big bads, I thought. Jack Campbell, part of that, like his tackling grade was 29.3. 19th out of 20 defensive players. He had overall grade of 44. It's horrendous. He's a super disappointing first round pick. Did not. Don't.
I'll give it up to Gibbs. Gibbs looks like he's warming up and like getting with the program or whatever. But it might be another year or two for Campbell.
Yeah, and that's not what you need out of a number
No.
18 pick.
Right.
But speaking of Gibbs, on the bright side, I thought our run game was dominant. Montgomery looked great. Gibbs
so
looked
good.
great.
I just love running backs like
I
him.
loved the fact that he did so well against his former team. Like that's always a good feeling. They didn't trade him, so he didn't have like that kind of animosity or anything. But like going back and beating your former team feels
it's got to
good.
feel good, right?
I mean, hell, I feel good doing that when I play rec league hockey and I play my former rec league team or some shit, right? It feels good to me. I know it feels good to David.
Yeah.
I thought Anzalone played really well.
Yeah,
He was
I'm gonna
the
have
only
to.
thing on our defensive backfield to do well.
I'm gonna have to take a mea culpa on him because he has played great. And
Yes.
I said, I was like, you're not worth the salary. I didn't want to resign you. And the dude has just played real well, like all season. So I made a mistake on that one.
That's very big of you.
Thanks.
Very big of you.
I hate saying shit.
I know, right? It feels so bad, but you gotta do it, right?
Yeah.
So I was happy that Hutch got a sack because he'd been shut out for like 4 straight games, even though he's got, he's top 5 in pressures or whatever. He is top 10 in the NFL as an edge rusher grade.
Yeah.
So I was happy that happened. I thought that, like you said, Amon-Ra St. Brown he just is there. He's always good. He's that steady Eddie that always just.
You
If
should
he
just
gets hurt, we're fucked.
You should just
throwing
give
out
that
there.
dude whoever he wants. To be honest, like when he asks at the end of, I don't know if he's allowed to sign an extension after this season, but like whenever he becomes extension eligible, you should just be like, so what is it going to take?
Yeah. What's the number?
Because you're fucking it, dude. So yeah, he's great. I think what an amazing find, like a diamond in the rough,
Yeah.
for sure. So
So those were like you already said, the never give up attitude, the fight, fight or flight. We're gonna fight, and I loved that. That was really great. I appreciated Jared Goff's ability to finish the game strong after being so miserable for the first 56 minutes. It takes something to just not let it get to you. He was absolutely miserable for 56 minutes.
I mean, it
He
was
finished the
bad.
game strong.
So bad.
So let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's we kind of pop into kind of like the gridiron grades type of thing.
Yeah.
Oops, I did not update the week. This is not week 10.
Get
It's week 11.
Get your head in the game, Michael.
I know it's crazy. So let's do a quick peek at what we got grade wise. So this is the offense.
Make it bigger.
Is this big enough?
One more.
I think it's probably.
Yeah, that's better.
All right. So Montgomery had an 89 grade. He was killing it. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Hey, look at all the guys we just got done talking about as doing well. Williams, JMO finally had a really good grade. He'd been struggling a little bit, especially
40
with the drops.
snaps. 40 snaps this week.
Yeah.
That's a
like
lot
it.
more than he's been getting. So
As we scroll, Malcolm Rodriguez, you and I were talking before the show about seeing him running in that
44 on
fullback type
offense.
of
What the
position.
hell? Yeah.
The dude likes to hit people, throw
Yeah, he
him in
does.
the area to clear people out of the way. Let's
Get
do
out
it.
of my way.
Jared Goff, 47 overall, miserable, very disappointing, but hopefully he bounces back on Thursday and says that's not me and kick some ass.
Yeah, you got to have
On the
goldfish
defensive
memory,
side
right?
of the ball. Yeah, exactly. On the defensive side of the ball, Anzalone was our number one graded player.
With a bullet.
He was 90.3. That is in the elite area.
75
killing it.
snaps and got a 90. Like that is, there's no bullshitting that.
Yeah, 32 coverage sacks, and let's zoom out just a touch so we can see he had a 90 on coverage.
Awesome.
That's great. Because he's not a coverage linebacker,
He's
right?
really
like that wasn't his thing.
No.
His tackling, 72. That's Ali McNeil, interior defensive line. Didn't have great tackling. Kirby Joseph had
Kirby
rough
hates tackling. He hates it.
He does. He's a little small. Josh Pascal didn't have great tackling. Jack Campbell, horrendous. Will Harris was bad overall. Just a couple of the guys that we always are disappointed with. I'd say off and on, but somewhat consistently. Jacobs, Harris, Campbell. 3 of the bottom 4. So that's kind of a bummer. Branch continues to play well.
I gotta do one. I gotta do one here.
Yeah.
Where's Jerry Jacobs? Oh, there he is, number 17.
17.
DJ Moore. I understand that DJ Moore is fast. Like that's DJ Moore's calling card. DJ Moore is a fast wide receiver. DJ Moore on his touchdown walked past Kirby Joseph. Or Jerry Jacobs. Like walked past him. And I was like, seatbelt gang, what the fuck is this? Come on now. And I was just like, there was nothing. Jacobs never put a hand on him, couldn't run with him, and just watched him run by. It was like one of those Disney movies where like the fat kid tries to run the 100 meters and everyone laughs at him and he takes off. There's a literal puff of smoke or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the hell is happening? Kirby, cut him off. No, it's a touchdown. Okay, that's neat. And like, it's one of those things where like Fields was just like, I'm going to step like this and then throw it 65 yards off my wrist. And perfect, and I was just like, I'm so mad at Jerry Jacobs right now. Get off Twitter, shut the fuck up. Like, please guard somebody. Why are you on their best corner? Why are you on their best wide receiver? I don't understand it. It's so frustrating for me.
I was surprised that Jalen Reeves-Maven got in. I even saw him. I'm like, I didn't realize there was only one snap because I saw the play that he was in. I'm like, holy shit, why is he in the game? How long has he been out there? Apparently, it was just the one play.
Oh.
Yeah, Hutch played well. Both the Okwara brothers played pretty well. McNeil continues to play really, really well. Branch is continuing to play really well.
Brian Branch, I think next year, people are gonna look at him and they're gonna be like, this kid made it to the second round. I think Brian Branch is going to be the linchpin of the secondary real quickly.
He kind of already is.
Well, I mean, like, there's a chance that they bring back Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that he starts over Tracy Walker as a nickel. And
I don't think Walker has a ton of guaranteed money next year.
Here's the other thing. I just saw this name. Go down one. Who is this kid? Who is this kid?
We just got him, I believe.
This is a practice squad dude. They do love their enormous defensive tackles on this team. But like
6'4".
They traded up in the 3rd round for this kid from like a MAC school, Toledo or something.
Roderick Martin.
And you and I were talking before the podcast, and you were like, they're basically like, we're going to DNP this kid and like train him back up with all the right, this is how you do things training. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me that we're signing Quentin here off the Dallas Cowboys practice squad or wherever he came from, Chicago Bears practice squad. And how many snaps did he play, Mike?
He played 26 snaps.
26 snaps. That's a third of the game on defense.
Yeah.
And like this kid wasn't on the roster last week, I don't believe.
No, this was his first. He was just activated.
So like that's something that I don't get. Like,
Yeah. Why was Broderick
why
Martin not
go
put
tell
in there to get
Broderick
some
Martin
snaps?
do one thing, hold one gap the whole game. Like, McNeil's gonna do all the stuff that McNeil does, and your job is to stand there and hold the dude in front of you in place. That's all you need to do. Don't jump early. Hold the dude in front of you. Fine, let's go.
The other 10 guys got it.
Yeah, you're gonna cancel out your guy. We're gonna go 10 on 10. Get him on the field. I don't get it. I don't understand what they're doing.
A couple overall things I wanted to see if I can find it here. Wide receivers, we'll do a quick rundown. Amon-Ra still top 5, tied with JJ. Halfbacks, we got Montgomery at 6 and Gibbs at 14. They're both playing really, really well.
Yeah, I think
tight
that's
ends.
super. I am not,
Laporta
as we all
has
know,
dropped a
I'm not a
bit.
huge running back fan. But like when you've got those two guys doing what they do well, it's real effective in this offense. And so I'm kind of happy about that. So I wanted to say something. I was watching a PFF podcast this morning, and they were doing the rundown of the Lions Bears game, and the lead PFF analyst, his name's Sam Monson, said this about Jahmyr Gibbs. So like PFF is famous for like the running backs don't matter argument, right? Like there's low value, positional value to drafting one in the first round. But when you draft a good player, even if they're not of a high positional value, that's not the same thing as taking a running back at 12 and missing on that guy. Right? Those are different things. So like, did you get all the positional value that you could from taking a corner like Christian Gonzalez at 12? No. But you didn't miss on the guy. You didn't miss on the player. He's a player that's helping you win. And so there is a difference. So like there has been a difference, like say Kansas City for the last couple. I mean, Kansas City took Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 32, like 2 or 3 years ago, right? And then the next season they draft a kid, Isaiah Pacheco, in the second round out of Rutgers, and the dude just takes the guy's job. Right? That's a miss. Like, I don't think that Jahmyr Gibbs is a miss. Was I unhappy about the positional value argument? Yup. But like I will have to concede at this point, like he's different than what I thought he was going to be, and he's not a bad running back by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, my biggest complaint is more on the opportunity cost.
Right.
As great as he's played, Montgomery is still the better player.
He's the better running back. Yeah, 100%.
Yes. And I would rather have David Montgomery. And if we look at the draft year, right? So these are the guys. Let's see if I can find which round they were drafted in. All right. So 3rd, 4th, and undrafted. I would rather have had Jalen Carter and Tyjae Spears or Roshan Johnson, those two guys, than Gibbs.
Right.
Right? Because we've already got Montgomery. I'd rather have a Montgomery and Tyjae Spears combination with Jalen Carter anchoring my defensive line alongside Ali McNeil than I would rather have what we got right now.
Yeah.
So to me, it's the opportunity cost of what we could have had instead. Not that he's not playing great. He's playing really well. He's the number 1 graded rookie. Awesome.
At his position group.
Overall. There we go. In his position group. Great. And he's 14 overall in the NFL. Awesome. And I'm happy about that. Like, I don't want him to be bad. I just,
no.
Like, looking back, I kind of wish we would rather have had one of these other guys in a later round and Jalen Carter.
Right.
Since we
You
have
know-
who we've got, like I want him to be fucking CMC and Alvin Kamara combined.
Yeah, that would
Go
be really
for it.
nice.
Like I want him to really crush it because he's on my team. But that's why I was disappointed.
Looking at the construction of this roster and like the struggles that they have had currently, I'm gonna have to like this might as well just be me eating crow. So like Hatter's house nails it. Hatter's house read my fucking mind, right? Like I wanted Jalen Carter. That's who I am as a person. Like I want to win on the lines. Like that's what I grew up watching Big Ten football. You won football games by running the ball and playing good defense. That all starts on the offensive and defensive line. But the player that I think would have been more impactful for this defense this year was Devin Witherspoon.
He's been so good.
He's been great. He's been great for Seattle. And like
Tied for fifth in the NFL as a rookie.
To put him next to Cam Sutton with Branch, and even like, say Chauncey gets hurt, because that's what happened. But like you go Tracy Walker, Kirby Joseph, that's like a legit secondary. There's no holes there.
Yeah.
And like if they're good enough where DJ Moore doesn't run past Jerry Jacobs, if Witherspoon's just like he doesn't get a step on Witherspoon or whatever, that's another 1/10 of a second or whatever longer that McNeil and Pascal and Hutch all have to get to the quarterback. Like they work in concert with one another. Now, I also tend to think like, okay, you were sitting there at 6 and Seattle just up and scooped you. Like just go take Jalen Carter. Like and wash your hands of that. Like let's move on to another great player. They didn't. Gibbs has been good. I don't think he's either one of those other two guys. Because if you said to me right now, I'll trade you Jalen Carter for Jahmyr Gibbs straight up, or I'll trade you Devin Witherspoon for Jahmyr Gibbs, both of those players help this Lions roster more than Jahmyr Gibbs does.
Yeah. Yep.
And
totally
I still
agree.
like Gibbs. I'm still a fan of Gibbs.
Yeah, it's not. That's exactly the point. I think for me that I tried to make is, it's not that I dislike Gibbs. I think he's a very good player, and I want him to do great because he's on my team. I don't dislike him. I don't want him to do poorly, just so I'm right. I would much rather be wrong and celebrate a Super Bowl every fucking time.
Yeah.
Right? So, but that said, like, this is dominant. Now, granted, he was injured a little bit, so he doesn't have quite the snap count as some of the other guys, but like 294 snaps is still nothing to sneeze at, right? And he's elite. Can you imagine this guy and this guy side by side?
I
Aleem
mean,
McNeil's number 5 in the NFL. Carter's number 2.
Aw.
Put those guys side by side. Oh my
Hatter's
gosh.
house. You made me smile, man. Thank you so much. That legitimately makes me super happy that somebody said that. That was so nice. Yeah, no, I mean, think about this. Think about this for a second. You have Hutch, Carter, McNeil on this timeline on cost-controlled first contracts. I don't know. Like, I get it. I get the red flags that were there. I get it. He's been nothing but perfect in Philly.
Yeah. Let's see tight ends. Laporta's kind of dropped a little bit. He was top 3, I think.
They
He's at
quit
11.
running
Still,
the football. I don't understand. Like, it was like, do defenses get it now? Do defenses are like, okay, we're gonna take away Sam Laporta. We can't have Sam Laporta like being the one that
I think they
carves us
are.
up?
I think
Because-
they are. I think they're keying on him.
If that's it, I mean, like, the Lions have fed Sam Laporta more than any tight end has ever gotten work.
Yeah.
In a
He's
rookie season.
575 snaps.
It is so far down the line. Like he has been given opportunities that rookie tight ends can only dream about. And like now teams
Yeah.
are like, well, we can't let this happen. We can't let this guy do it. Let St. Brown do it forever, but we can't let this guy do it. You know? And I think that
he's been killing it.
Yeah, he's been great. And that pains me to say it too, because like I was like, no, not a tight end. Not at the top of round 2. Come on. So
yeah, he was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th most snaps in the NFL as a tight end. All right, so tight ends, centers. Ragnow is at number 2. He's remaining a all-pro quality dude. Guards, I was really happy to see Graham Glasgow. He's played really, really well. We need to keep this man because he's cheap and he's good. Even give him a pay bump.
Oh,
Usually
yeah, no.
third and fourth contract, like
he's
as a
only making
journeyman,
like
you don't necessarily get
2.6.
pay bump. Yeah.
I mean, you could
I'd give him
legit
a
triple
3.
that. Yeah, give him that triple that for 3 years and call it a game.
Yeah. Vitai's out. I think probably for the season, possibly
No,
career. I heard.
I think it's career.
Yeah. He had been playing well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah.
Jonah Jackson at 32, still not bad. Tackles. Sewell, number 2 tackle in the NFL. Love seeing that. He's so good. I believe he has not had he's not given up a single sack the entire season. And I think I saw that he only had 2 pressures the entire season, which is fucking unreal.
He's been real
Decker's
solid.
at 16.
Real
Yeah.
solid.
This does not show pressures allowed. Let's see where else. Corners.
Yeah, this is
Branch at 20. That's our top one. Nobody else in the top 50.
Yeah, this is tied for my number 1 need heading into the offseason is cornerback.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised to not see any of our safeties up here. Walker's at 36. We have to go to. Let's go to. Keep scrolling. Kirby's dropped to 76. Now, granted, this is his second year, right? He was a rookie last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe a little bit of that wall that you kind of hit sometimes when you're young.
Well, I mean, I think that what the scouting report on Kirby Johnson is like get physical with him. Like
Kirby Joseph.
Kirby Joseph. Like run at him, throw to tight ends that he's going to have to come up and hit. Like he doesn't want to hit. You know, and like I get it. That's not his game. But not, I think the teams are like, hey, we're going to put him in a position where he has to do the thing that he doesn't want to do.
Anzalone shocked me. He's at 16.
Really?
Yeah. He's played really well this year. 16.
I wonder what his snap count looks like compared to other players. Like where does he rank in snap count, Mike?
627. So.
Oh, it doesn't tell you.
Around 19-ish.
I would have thought that it was higher.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 19, 20, 21. He's 21st in snaps.
Ugh. Crazy.
So I was happy to see him in the top 16 there. Interior defenders, we already talked about Aleem McNeil killing it. Edge defenders, Hutch is at 7. 90.2. Those are elite numbers.
Yeah, he's just been killing it.
Kickers. Apparently they don't grade kickers. I don't know. I guess I didn't notice that. Punters? Any grades on punters? Yeah, apparently they don't grade punters and kickers. Interesting. So anyway, that's kind of the rundown of like where we're at grades wise across the position groups. I really would love to see Goff have a killer game against Packers. and bump back up into the top 3.
Sure.
Because, that means we probably won.
I would imagine it does, yeah.
So I guess let's transition to a quick. I know we've kind of already gone long, but I didn't get to talk last week at all, so
Sure.
I'm cool. But Packers Thanksgiving, after a game that we should have easily won and barely won. What are you thinking?
So I think this game comes down to like 2 super easy to say things. Jared Goff has to play better than Jordan Love. I don't know that that's asking for much. And then I think that this game is going to be ultimately won on the lines. Like, can the Lions offensive line create room to run for the 2 running backs? And if they can, then Detroit can do what they want to do, which is get the lead, play from the front, know what you have to do, what role you're in, force the other team into being one-dimensional, and then grind down the clock, force that, basically dictate the terms of the game. And on the defensive side of the ball, they're down Bakhtiari, I believe they're down Elgin Jenkins. Like, the offensive line right now is in shambles. Like, if James Houston can play, he needs to play. Somebody other than Aiden Hutchinson needs to put pressure on Jordan Love. And if you get somebody, Pascal, McNeil, Kaminsky, whomever it is, that's going to put a little bit of additional pressure on Jordan Love, I think the defensive line can dictate what's going to happen once the offense makes the Packers one-dimensional. It's in Detroit, I believe. Right?
Yes. It's Thanksgiving.
Well,
it's always at home.
So it's at home. Everything, all the arrows point toward Detroit being able to win this game.
Yeah.
And I said the same exact thing about the Bears last week.
The Packers are they are 17th in run defense, and I think that's going to be a big piece of this game. Overall defense, they are 17th. Their pass rush, I'm going to have to scroll. They're at 23rd on the pass rush. So, I think it comes down to like you said, the defensive line of theirs versus our offensive line, our ability to run. Their coverage grade is, I just saw them. Where'd they go? 12th. So their secondary's been playing relatively well. They're in the top half at least. So I don't think it's going to be necessarily Goff is going to beat him with his arm. I think it's going to be the run. It's going to be play action. And I think it's going to be the same game that we've done all season long. We need to have a good run game. We have to have good protection by our offensive line. And we need to have Amon-Ra St. Brown stay healthy. And I'd love to see J-Mo have this killer breakout game. Kind of like, not that it was a breakout game per se, because it's about Calvin Johnson. But you remember when Calvin Johnson was playing against the Cowboys? I think it was Monday Night Football, and Dez Bryant was talking so much shit. And then Calvin goes out and has 267 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's the kind of shit. I'd love to have J-Mo have this big game where he has 180 yards and 3 touchdowns or some shit. That would be fun to watch. Just let him come out.
So this is the Packers injury report from today. Did not participate. Linebacker Devondre Campbell. Running back Aaron Jones, he's out. Luke Musgrave, their rookie tight end, who has a lacerated kidney. Looks like he's out.
Shit.
Wide receiver Dontavian Wicks, who's been their best wide receiver. Limited. Cornerback Jair Alexander, he's good. DT Kenny Clark, he's good. Running back A.J. Dillon. Left guard Elton Jenkins. Wide receiver Jaden Reed. Safety Darnell Savage. That's 11, and there's guys I didn't even read off. There's 11 or 12 dudes and I think two or three of them are probably not playing.
So
and like
you
if
said
you're
Kenny
healthier,
Clark and Jair Alexander.
Kenny Clark is like their nose tackle, and Jair Alexander is their like all-pro corner. So if those guys can't, I would imagine that they play. But like,
Yeah. No, yeah. So Kenny Clark is their 8th best. Jair Alexander is their 9th best on defense. Who are the other
Campbell's
defensive
7.
players? I'm just kidding.
Campbell's 7. Rudy Ford was on the list. I didn't read his name. Ballantyne was on the list. I didn't read his name. And Gary was
These
a
are
full
their top
participant.
10 defensive players.
Yeah. So I mean, like, if you get some of those guys not playing and you have to have backups or shuffle dudes around,
or they just take limited snaps, or they're not full strength, like that kind of stuff helps. What about
now
offense?
you've got gaps in the armor, right? So
Yep.
I think that
what offensive players were were on the injury report?
So Christian Wilson looks like he's probably, or Watson, whatever their
wide receiver.
Yeah, that's him. He was banged up.
Way down here.
Wicks, their wide receiver number 8, was banged up. AJ Dillon, he's banged up. David Bakhtiari's out. Like they sat him down for the year. Let's see. Jaden Reed was hurt. It looks like he might play. Musgrave has the lacerated kidney. Aaron Jones is out. So I mean, like, you're like your best offensive player, and Aaron Jones is not going to play. The next guy up looks like he's 50% of the snaps, or whatever. Tackle, so it's like it's going to be a Gibbs and Reynolds kind of situation, So it looks like the Lions are healthier. They are at home. I just think they're the better team. I think that the situation lines up for exactly what they want to do. Here's the thing. Here's the crux of the whole thing, as far as I'm concerned. If they win the coin toss, take the ball.
Yeah.
Take the ball. I don't care. Get the lead, play from the lead, and ping pong that shit back and forth all game if you have to, but get the ball first.
Yeah, if you are scoring first and you ping pong, they have to catch up every time.
Right. That's the method the Lions want to run. Is we scored first, now we know what you have to do. It's basically like college football overtime rules. Like we want to know what we need to do to win. So just make the game simpler. Just get the ball.
Yeah, I understand there's some strategy around taking it versus, taking it in the second half. I don't necessarily know if there's I'm curious what the analytics are around that, like the actual metrics. How many if you took the ball to start the game, how many if you kicked off to start the game as your choice. I guess even if it's not your choice, right? Like if you started with the ball, what was your winning percentage? And then if you were the team that had the favorite with the ball, favorite kicking the ball, like that kind of thing. I'd be curious to see what those numbers are. I don't know where you would find those numbers, but I'm sure somebody has it somewhere.
So I think there are baseline stats, whether you look at it just like, did you have one more turnover than I did? Did you take the ball at the second half? Were you at home? There are like benchmark, like Lifeline-esque stats in the NFL that's like, if you want to win football games, you have to accomplish these things. And if you do, you're like 65% to win every game or something, and it's like, don't turn the ball over. Like basically don't make more mistakes than your opponent. We will go and find those numbers because now I'm super interested. But like, I would bet that if you win the flip, you're taking the ball in the second half 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So like, I don't think that's an erroneous thing.
Yeah, so where are they getting that numbers? Like, why are they choosing it? Is it just a conventional wisdom? anecdotal like conventional wisdom, because that's what conventional wisdom is a lot of times, just anecdotal, not actually based on hard stats.
Well,
So
I
I'm
think
curious,
what it
like,
is
what is it that?
you want to see how the first half plays out. You want to go in and make adjustments, and you want to be the first one to dictate those adjustments from the half, and then basically
Would you rather be the first person or the first team to be able to make those adjustments, or be up a touchdown?
well, I mean, like if you're just gonna say that every time if I win a coin flip and I can take the ball, that's a touchdown, I'll take the touchdown every time.
Right.
But they don't always score a touchdown. So like
It's true.
the difference, I think the difference then lies in the fact that it's like what we were just talking about, like what do we need to do to win the game? For the Lions, I think it's very simple. We need to play from the front. So how do you do that? Get the ball first. I think for a lot of teams, it's we're playing the first half. We're going to make some kind of alteration. Now we know what we need to do. Now we need the ball first. In the shorter
in the
of the
second
two
half.
games. Yeah. The second half, the one that matters crazy. I mean, like, and ask the Vikings how important the second half is. Ask the Detroit Lions how important the second half is. Like just from this week. I think that sometimes it's just the tale of two completely different football games. And it's like, oh, this team was, in the Super Bowl, Atlanta and New England.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like a literal night and day difference in what two teams look like from first half compared to second half. And I think that some percentage of that is we have the ball.
Yeah.
It makes it a lot easier to score points when you have the ball.
This is true.
I've heard.
It's true.
I don't know. It's a rumor.
That's all I got. Anything before we wish our viewers and listeners, subscribers, a fantastic Thanksgiving and hopefully a Lions victory?
Well, that's all I was going to wish for them, is that, like, this is my favorite holiday of the year. I like being grateful for things. I very much would love to share being grateful for a win on Thanksgiving for this team over the hated Green Bay Packers. I don't care if they're good, bad, indifferent. I want to kick their ass. I hate their uniforms and them as people. So like,
people.
So it would just be great to be 9-2 and be happy about that on Thanksgiving. It would be a nice change. I hope that all of your Thanksgivings are the best versions of Thanksgiving they can be for you and your families, and even you, Mike.
Oh, wow! I'm into it. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'm flabbergasted.
I'm bummed that Kathy wasn't still listening for that one. So,
I am going to be in Las Vegas next week. I'll be heading out Monday late afternoon and be out there for the week. So I am probably not going to be around on Tuesday. So that's a bummer.
More mock drafts then.
More mock drafts and hopefully some discussion on the. I think the last time I was in Vegas for the conference, I kind of tuned in on the shuttle between sessions, if I remember right. And you're like, oh,
that sounds familiar.
Mike's in chat.
Yeah.
So
God, was that a year ago? Wow. So like,
it's been a year.
I'm assuming that if you're not there next week, it's going to go something like this: Lions won. Let's fire up the mock draft simulator. Let's go. We're going to do a full first rounder. Everyone, you got to help me pick. So
I like it. I like it. Hopefully that'll be the Lions one. Let's go.
And if it's not,
all right, like, Drew, you have a fantastic Thanksgiving as well.
Fire up the mock draft simulator.
Yeah, have a good Thanksgiving, everybody. We got the Discord there, so there's the link. But outside of that, let's kick some Packer ass in 2 days.
Oh,
day and a half, almost. Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll catch you guys later.
See you guys.